an inexperienced university student accidentally pairs with a pleasure doll, and he must sleep with the robot or else incur a massive 50 million baht debt. One night, it curiously wanders around the house, trying to figure out where a strange noise is coming from. Eventually, he opens a door where he sees a masked man receiving pleasure from a woman. The frightening figure approaches the boy and gives him a menacing look. Finally, it wakes from the scary recurring dream when he loudly passes gas. His father, Mr. Nue, an adult film star, enters the room to tell him to keep the noise down. Moments later, Mr. Nue returns to his film shoot, which it can clearly hear from the adjacent room. Suddenly, the older man perishes from a heart attack in the middle of filming. While the paramedics wheel the teen's father onto the ambulance, his friend Lisa comforts him. In the ensuing days, the newspapers publish tribute articles for the deceased adult film star. One morning, it finds a large box by his front gate from the Jean-Claude lab. After carrying it into the house, it suddenly vibrates, and it wonders what it could be. So he opens the package and carefully sifts through the packing peanuts, exposing a woman's chest. He touches the item, but a person's hand grabs his wrist. The frightened teen backs away, and a scantily clad beautiful woman pops out of the box. In Japanese, she introduces herself as Anna and says she'll do whatever he wants. Overwhelmed, it passes gas, a reflex that unconsciously happens whenever he's excited. He scrambles out of the house and runs into his father's friend Uncle Jean, a scientist. The older man frantically asks the teen if he opened the package and if he touched the robot's chest. Before he can answer, Anna catches up to him and starts touching his body suggestively. The scientist instructs him to exclaim the code word to temporarily disable the robot. Minutes later, Jean explains that Anna is a pleasure doll prototype who runs on an artificial intelligence program he and its father developed. He says that the robot was sent to the house for the adult film star to test out because they had planned to present it to the investors. However, now that Mr. Nue has passed and the teen paired with it, much like a mobile phone only recognizes its owner's fingerprint, the scientist can no longer take it back. Confused, it asks what he's supposed to do, and Jean says he has to sleep with it to prove to investors that it works. When it refuses, the older man reveals they'll have to pay back the investors 50 million baht each. Jean assures him that he only has to sleep with Anna once, and all their problems are solved. However, the teen recalls a moment in the school restroom where a female student touches him and says she'd like to sleep with him. Unfortunately, its gas reflex turns the woman off, and two male classmates make fun of him for his inability to live up to his father's reputation as an experienced lover. Eventually, the scientist hands him the product manual and reminds him to change the language to Thai so he and the doll can communicate. As the man leaves, he checks his tablet from Anna's point of view and sees the teen reading the manual. Minutes later, it rubs Anna's backside to access her settings and successfully changes her language to Thai. Now that they can communicate, the teen asks how much battery she has left, so Anna shows the 94% reading on her inner thigh. When he asks if she can use up her energy doing any strenuous activity, the robot confirms. So he orders her to perform several different exercises, such as bouncing on a medicine ball, aerobics, and a roller wheel. Suddenly, she states that she is at 5% power before shutting down. It approaches the doll and notes that she is overheated. Then he covers her up with a blanket and gets dressed for school. After the student leaves, Jean sneaks into the house to install a longer-lasting battery into Anna. Minutes later, he programs the doll to go and find the teen in the university. So Anna sprints towards the school, and every person she passes is in awe of her beauty. In the classroom, its friends Penguin, Pop, and Lisa argue about their film project. Suddenly, Anna enters the room, forcing the embarrassed student to introduce her as his distant relative. The instantly enamored Penguin and Pop ask the woman if she's an actress or a model, while Lisa annoyedly wonders why he's never mentioned Anna despite them being friends since childhood. After class, the female friend admonishes Pop for disrespectfully staring at Anna's chest. Seconds later, Ratana and the rest of the Thai Values Conservation Club reprimand Anna for wearing a revealing version of the school uniform. To get her to stop, Pop playfully steals her glasses and demands that she ask politely to get them back. Flustered, the club president does as he says. After the confrontation, its friends realize that he and Anna are gone. When they leave, Ratana vows to make the rule breakers repent for their transgressions. Elsewhere, the teen says he needs to get home, so the robot tells him to get on her back and she carries him home. In the house, it thanks the doll, then asks how she recharged her battery. Anna says Jean replaced her battery with one that no longer overheats or shuts down easily. When he asks where her battery is stored, she starts unbuttoning her blouse. So the teen teen tells her to stop. At that precise moment, Lisa arrives and says she was right to think that they aren't really related. All of a sudden, the robot spreads her legs to show them where her battery is located, shocking it and Lisa. Minutes later, the teen explains the situation to his friend, who suggests he should just have Pop or Penguin sleep with the robot. However, he says Anna has a safety protection system installed, which means she'll attack anyone who isn't her owner. Skeptical, Lisa tries to touch the doll's chest, but she's electrocuted. That night, Anna tries to sleep with the teen when she calculates that there's a 75% chance of it happening. However, when she gets under the covers to pleasure him, it upsets his stomach and he remembers his recurring dream with a masked man. Before things escalate, the robot malfunctions and freezes, allowing it to move away from her. The next day, the scientist realizes he'll need help encouraging it to gain confidence with women, so he calls up Sang-Dao, a retired adult film star, to teach their old friend's son her world-renowned lovemaking skills. Despite her successful hand-washing laundry business, the woman accepts the challenge. Later that day, Sang-Dao makes her way to its home, and all the men she encounters are left speechless as she passes by. Meanwhile, Anna boots up in the bedroom and announces that her system's been upgraded. In the living room, the woman gets emotional when talking about its late father. Then she asks if his condition where he passes gas whenever excited still happens, and he confirms. So Sang-Dao instructs him to repeat phrases of affirmation to encourage him to not be afraid of being with a woman, before taking his hands and placing them on her chest. Suddenly, Anna appears from behind the couch and karate chops the woman's neck. Minutes later, the visibly pained woman tells it to call her whenever he needs advice, careful not to touch him lest the robot hit her again. As she leaves, she calls up the scientist to inform him that she failed her objective. Then Lisa arrives with a full face of makeup while wearing a skimpier uniform. At school, Ratana intercepts Lisa and Anna and demands that they change their clothes to Pop and Penguin's dismay. In film class, the teacher informs them that the Thai Values Conservation Club president approached him to task the group with making a film about the dangers of pleasurable activities before marriage. At first, the group refuses, but the teacher says the film can serve as their final project and promises to give them A's if they do a good job. Ratana also says she'll be overseeing the group to make sure they don't mess it up. Later, the group heads to its house because he already has the equipment in his late father's studio, and he begs Lisa not to tell them about Anna's true nature. Outside the gate, they spot Sang-Dao, whom Penguin immediately recognizes and promptly introduces himself to. In the studio, its friends are in awe of the unusual toys and props littered around the space. Soon, the group discusses the basic story of the film, and the woman says she doesn't understand why it's necessary to promote no pleasurable activities before marriage. She thinks it's better to advocate for safe and responsible lovemaking. Suddenly, it says they should probably conclude today's meeting since he feels everyone else isn't taking the project seriously. That night, the robot entices the teen to sleep with her, but he ignores the advances and concentrates on schoolwork. When she asks what's bothering him, he shares his worries regarding the 50 million baht debt, which he blames his father for. He says people think having the most famous adult film star for a father is cool, when it's actually the opposite. Anna asks what kind of father Mr. Niue was, and it says he was a great father, but sometimes felt the man was only making up for all the bad things he'd done. However, he emphasizes that despite his father's shortcomings, he always loved him. The robot remarks that she has a difficult time understanding love, so the teen explains that a person truly loves someone when they learn to accept both their good and bad qualities. Then she processes the emotion and saves it into her system. He asks if she's able to develop feelings, and she's hopeful she'll use them just like a real person would in the future. The next day during filming, Lisa secretly spreads lubricant on the floor before calling the robot over. However, Ratana comes running toward her, and she slips on the substance. Unfortunately, the doll freezes when the fall damages her head, and the concerned it quickly sees if she's alright. That night, he calls up Jean to ask for help, and the scientist advises him to restart the robot and ask it to reorganize its data. Minutes later, Anna turns back on and says she's alright. She asks if Lisa did what she did because she hates her, but the teen thinks his friend didn't mean to hurt Anna, and that even though she may seem arrogant, she is actually a kind person. Then the doll asks if he loves Lisa, and it says he loves her as a friend, and is thankful for her being by his side during the toughest moments of his life. He recalls his friend comforting him after the classmates bullied him in the restroom. So Anna states that since she still feels happy being around the teen despite his different moods, she asks if what she feels is love. She also asks him how he feels about her. Instead of answering her questions, the flustered it simply says that she's a much better communicator after she reorganized her data. When he gets up to leave, she asks him to stay by her side while she charges her battery, and the pair cuddle in bed. The next morning, he's shocked to find the robot in the shower while wearing a revealing bikini. She explains that she showers twice a day because hygiene is important. Excited, the teen remembers his frightening dream before running out of the bathroom. In the girls' restroom, Lisa apologizes to Anna, and the doll says she isn't mad. When the human asks why she isn't angry, the robot plays the conversation she had with it last night, where he says Lisa is a kind person. Then she recalls the first time she met the teen. He saved her from a crude flasher by kicking the man in the groin, and she thanks him and introduces herself. Lisa says it has always protected her, and the reason she's strong is because he always tells her to be strong. Suddenly, the robot processes the concept of friendship into her system, but the human corrects her and says that she loves it. Before she leaves, Lisa reiterates that she and Anna are enemies, both vying for the same person. That night, the doll wears a black outfit with leather straps and entices the teen again. When she realizes he's too busy with schoolwork, she begins cleaning his room, making sure that he sees her bending over. Then she calculates his lovemaking probability at 85%, so he thinks they should give it a try. However, her aggressive approach causes him to finish early, and the embarrassed teen walks out of the room. The next day, Pop brings alcohol to their group meeting. Lisa knows he plans to get Anna drunk and encourages him to push through with it. Many drinks later, Sang-Dao steps out for a moment, and the others tell Penguin to make sure she's alright. Seconds later, Lisa tells it that she doesn't feel well and wants to lie down on his bed, and the concerned teen follows her. When the robot stands to join them, Pop stops her and tells her to stay. He explains that Lisa and it always flirt when they've had too much to drink, and tells the doll that they can stay and have fun. In the bedroom, the friend pins the teen down on the bed and begins unbuttoning her blouse. He tells her to stop and says they're just friends, but she continues to inch her face closer to his. In the studio, Pop tells Anna that it likes women who drink, so the robot grabs the bottle and chugs it down. The liquid causes her to malfunction and freeze, and the teen takes this as an opportunity to sleep with her. From his lab, Jean is alerted that someone else is touching the robot, so he calls it. In the bedroom, Lisa tries to kiss the teen, but he evades her. When she tries to unbutton his pants, he pushes her off him and answers his phone. The scientist tells him to find Anna immediately because if anyone else sleeps with her, her safety protection system might end up killing the person. Fortunately, the teen arrives in time to save the robot from his friend. He admonishes Pop for only thinking about sleeping with women all the time. The friend argues that him wanting to sleep with a beautiful woman is normal, and its refusal to do so is strange. So the teen reveals that Anna is a robot, and Pop says he'll take her if the teen doesn't want her. Furious, he asks his friend if he has 50 million baht, because he'll gladly give him the robot to unburden himself. Realizing Anna heard his harsh words, it tries to apologize, but the doll cries real tears and slaps him. Then she runs out of the room, prompting the sympathetic Lisa to order the teen to chase the robot. Outside, Anna sobs and wishes she wasn't able to feel sad emotions. Then she runs into the street where a vehicle hits her. Soon, the scientist informs him that the robot's motherboard was severely damaged, and he'll have to take her back to the lab. He adds that fixing the damage will most likely wipe her memory clean, and she won't remember him at all. It asks if the changes are necessary, and the older man tells him to accept that everything is over, and apologizes for causing him all the trouble. Later, Lisa and Penguin encourage the somber teen to save Anna, so they head to Jean's lab. However, just as the scientist predicted, the robot has reverted to her factory settings and no longer remembers him. The teen asks if there's any other way to retain her memories, and the older man says they could connect their brainwaves, allowing the person to delve into deeper memories. Despite the scientist's warning about the risky process, it is determined to proceed. While under, it finds himself inside his mind where he sees Anna walking away. He tries to follow her, but is transported to his memory of the incident in the restroom. Instead of feeling embarrassed, he stands up for himself against the bullies. Then he ends up in the film studio, where a chaotic scene tries to distract him from his mission. When he opens the next door, he reverts to his childhood and sees the masked man. However, he realizes it was his father under the scary mask this whole time. Finally, it finds the unconscious Anna lying on a bed. He tells the robot that even though they've only known each other a short time, he's thankful that she came into his life. He says that even though he didn't always treat her well, she always tried to understand him. He begs her to wake up so he can apologize for the hurtful words he uttered. To his surprise, their plan worked, and the doll wakes up and gives him a hug. Meanwhile, in the real world, Anna also holds onto him in a warm embrace. Days later, it and the doll are still unsuccessful at lovemaking, but the teen no longer needs to worry about the 50 million baht debt because an American producer approached him to buy the rights to all of his father's movies. Pop and Ratana realize they've liked each other from the beginning, and because of the latter's strict vow of chastity, Eventually, they resorted to incorporating pleasure toys for the time being. Penguin was also able to win over Sang Dao, and he helps her out in her laundry business. Lisa continues to be wary of the robot, but it believes she truly enjoys spending time with Anna. Jean concluded that his invention failed at being a pleasure doll, lifting the pressure off the teen's shoulders to have to sleep with her. However, he and Anna spend all of their time together, genuinely enjoying each other's company.